The observation deck hummed with the soft pulse of the starship's engines, a rhythm that had become as familiar to Ilara as her own heartbeat. She stood before the reinforced viewport, watching the swirling colors of hyperspace bend reality into impossible shapes. Behind her, three small figures lay curled together in their thermal nest. Vex, Rin, and Tala, the Kirathi cubs she had been assigned to transport across 3 sectors of contested space. The mission had seemed simple enough when Commander Yaris briefed her 6 weeks ago. The Kirathi were a feline-descended species, apex predators on their homeworld, and these 3 cubs were the last surviving members of the Shornar bloodline. Their parents had fallen in the Keldon massacre, and Ilara, a xenobiologist with experience in cross-species psychology, was chosen to ensure their safe passage to the sanctuary worlds beyond the frontier. What the briefing hadn't mentioned was how the cubs would change her. Ilara pressed her palm against the cool glass, her reflection ghosting over the cosmic maelstrom beyond. She had spent 43 days with Vex, Rin, and Tala. 43 days of learning their clicks and purrs, of understanding that Vex's ear flick meant curiosity, while Rin's tail twitch signaled anxiety. Tala, the smallest, rarely made sounds at all, but her golden eyes held an intelligence that unsettled even the ship's AI. The Kirathi were not like human children. They were born with instincts honed by millions of years of evolution. Hunters, strategists, survivors. Yet they were still young, still vulnerable, still capable of the same fear that gripped Ilara's chest as the proximity alarm began to wail. Red light flooded the observation deck. Warning, the ship's AI intoned, its synthetic voice devoid of emotion. 3 vessels approaching. Configuration matches Keldon Raider class. Weapons hot. Impact in 4 minutes, Ilara's breath caught. The Keldon. The same butchers who had slaughtered the Shornar clan, who collected Kirathi pelts as trophies and sold their bones to black market collectors. They had found her ship somehow, tracked it through the folded dimensions of hyperspace. She spun toward the cubs. They were awake now, sitting upright in their nest, 6 ears swiveled forward, 3 pairs of luminous eyes fixed on her face. "It's okay," Ilara said, forcing steadiness into her voice even as her hands trembled. "We're going to be fine. The defensive systems will." The ship shuddered violently. Sparks erupted from a wall panel. The lights flickered and died, replaced by emergency red strips along the floor. Hull breach detected. Defensive systems offline. Keldon boarding party detected in Cargo Bay 3. Ilara's mind raced. The escape pods were 2 decks down. The armory was on the opposite side of the ship. She had a plasma pistol in her quarters, but quarters were through a corridor that now vented atmosphere into space. They were trapped. The cubs rose as one, fluid and silent. Vex, the largest, moved to the front. Rin flanked left. Tala took the right. They positioned themselves between Ilara and the sealed door that led to the corridor, the only entrance to the observation deck. "No," Ilara whispered, understanding flooding through her. "No, you don't have to." A metallic screech echoed through the walls. Something was cutting through the door. Ilara dropped to her knees, gathering the cubs close. They were so small, their bodies barely reaching her waist even when standing. Vex's fur was soft beneath her fingers. Rin's purr, usually a sound of contentment, now thrummed with a frequency that spoke of readiness. Tala pressed her small head against Ilara's palm, then stepped away. "I'm afraid," Ilara whispered. It was the truth, raw and vulnerable. She had spent her entire adult life studying alien species, had been trained to remain objective, professional, detached. But these cubs, these beautiful, fierce, impossible cubs, had become something more than a mission. They had become hers to protect, and she was failing them. The door exploded inward. 3 Keldon mercenaries stormed through the smoking entrance, their segmented armor clicking with each movement, weapons raised. They were insectoid, with compound eyes that glittered in the emergency lighting and mandibles that dripped acidic saliva. The lead Keldon's translator crackled. "The cubs. Surrender them and you may live." Human. Ilara opened her mouth to negotiate, to bargain, to do anything that might buy them seconds more of life. But the cubs moved first. Vex's roar shattered the tension, not the mewling cry of a kitten, but a sound that resonated with genetic memory, with the fury of a species that had never known subjugation. Rin and Tala joined the chorus, and the observation deck filled with a primal symphony that made even the Keldon hesitate. Then the cubs charged. What happened next would be analyzed later by military strategists and xenobiologists alike. The Karathi cubs, each weighing less than 20 kilograms, moved with a coordination that defied their age. Vex went low, claws extended, shredding through the lead mercenary's leg joints where armor met flesh. Rin leaped high, small body becoming a blur as she struck at optical sensors and exposed throat sections. Tala, smallest and swiftest, darted between the giants, her claws finding every vulnerable seam in their armor. The Keldon had come expecting frightened children and a helpless human. They had not expected warriors. The firefight lasted 17 seconds. When it ended, 3 armored bodies lay motionless on the deck, and 3 cubs stood over them, chests heaving. Blood, not their own, matting their fur. Alara stared, her mind struggling to process what she had witnessed. Vex turned first, patting back to Alara on paws too small to have just felled a trained killer. The cub sat before her, then carefully, deliberately, pressed her forehead against Alara's knee. Rin and Tala followed, completing the circle. "You protected me," Alara breathed, tears streaming down her face. "You're just cubs and you protected me." Vex's eyes met hers, ancient and knowing. The cub made a soft chirping sound, the Karathi expression of pack bond, of family recognized and claimed. In that moment, Alara understood. The Karathi did not measure strength by size or age. They measured it by courage, by loyalty, by the willingness to stand between those you loved and the darkness that sought to devour them. She had been assigned to protect the cubs. But in her moment of fear, when she had whispered her truth into the void, they had chosen to protect her. The ship's AI spoke again, its voice somehow gentler. "Keldon vessels retreating," Sanctuary World Beacon acquired. Estimated arrival, 4 hours. Ilara gathered the 3 cubs into her arms, feeling their heartbeats synchronize with her own. "Thank you," she whispered into Vex's ear. "Thank you for teaching me what it means to be brave." Outside the viewport, hyperspace collapsed into normal stars, and ahead, a green world awaited. A sanctuary, yes, but also a home where a human and 3 cubs would arrive not as strangers, but as family forged in the crucible of fear and found courage.